in terms of that, so obviously there's a number of applications for the book. Who should use it?
The Life Skills Report Card itself as a tool is really valuable, I think, for any individual. Any of us can benefit by simply sitting down, looking through the 5 life skills categories and the 6 subcategories under each one, and doing a self-evaluation. How are we doing in these areas? Secondly, however, and one of the reasons necessity is the mother of creativity, and that is how I developed the report card. It's always easier for us to see what somebody else needs to do rather than ourselves, but often we learn in the process. And I did develop this as a tool for communicating more effectively with my children regarding the development of their life skills. So as for parents, it really is, right now parents do not have a quantitative, a measurable tool like the academic report card for evaluating things like organizational skills, communication skills, social skills, personal care. All of those things are things we teach our children, and yet we do not have any kind of a sort of a grand plan where we sit down and say, how are we doing here, and what's good, what needs more attention or some improvement. So the Life Skills Report Card is invaluable in that regard. It's a great tool for parents to sit down, take a comprehensive look at their children's growth and performance, and really focus in on the key areas.
I love that, Marlene. I got to tell you, once again, I'm excited about what this is, because what happens is that we, there's a number of things that happens once again in our lives. We get so busy in the process, and so me having a family and just being the busy entrepreneur or solo entrepreneur, and a lot of times I lose sight of certain things, and so it's certainly an opportunity to slow down. Interestingly enough, I'm looking at something that just came up. There's over 100,000 people that lost their jobs in the financial industry. What do you recommend for them to do in their next? How do you use a life skill in a down economy? There's a lot of really amazing things going on at this point economically. Now, I have my own perspective, but how would someone in a down economy with a family and all the challenges use the Life Skills Report Card?
In several levels it can be valuable. First, let's say, and very often we have two career families right now, and our time raising our children is really precious. It's really condensed. Making sure that time is more valuable, is more effective, that we're really accomplishing what we want to accomplish is valuable and important. If someone has gone through, if they're in a period where they are between positions, they may be home saying, wow, I'm not feeling good about myself at the moment, I don't have a job. And also that negative feeling can end up impacting how they're dealing their relationship with their family, both their spouse and their children. The Life Skills Report Card is a great tool for pulling out and saying, hey, I have this additional time now. I can sit down and actually utilize this time I have to improve my relationship with my children, to improve my role as a parent. And this will be something I can look back on. Once I do have a position, I can look back and say, I'm really glad I had that time to step back, to get a little more proactive in how I raise my children. One of the things that unfortunately happens for all of us is the negative things tend to get attention. As much as I try really hard to focus on the positives and they say you need 7 compliments to balance 1 negative comment with children. And the nice thing about the report card is it really enables you to sit back and look at everything your child's doing, rather than just focusing on 1 or 2 things that may be an issue. For example, perhaps they're not maintaining their room well. The nice thing about the report card is it enables you to focus on the positive on a number of other things they may be doing very well. So those 2 things. First of all, giving parents a very efficient tool to proactively work with their children and improve the relationship. And secondly, if you find yourself having more time with your children, that can be overwhelming if you haven't been home regularly. So this is a great tool for making sure that time is valuable and spent in a positive manner.
That's extreme. That's so beautiful. And I'd like to add to that. There was a question that came up that said, there's over 100,000 people that have lost their jobs in the financial industry. Interestingly enough, I also, I work with a lot of people one-on-one. And so the first step in my process, number one, I see this as an opportunity to reinvent ourselves. And a lot of times, we see layoff and downsizing as fear because obviously we have our mortgages and all the other stuff that's looming, and the tides of life are raging against us. And so oftentimes the pressure of life is beating against us, and we don't know what to do. But you know what? If you really take an opportunity to step back and use a tool like you're talking about, and in my book I outline a lot of different processes, but if you really take a deep breath, and you can do it quickly, but it's really an opportunity to redefine who you are. And I think that, in my estimation, what a dream job really is it's something you're passionate about. It's something where there's 4 areas. You love the people. You're making enough money to sustain yourself. There's growth in it for you, and then there's work-to-life balance. And I see the life skills report card playing in on that. So we're going to have to talk about how to get that into my book as well. So, but I think that, in a down economy, this is certainly an opportunity for people to reevaluate themselves. So maybe you have to go out and do something, different, consulting, a part-time job, a full-time job that's not in your sweet spot. But I really think this is the time that America has the opportunity to recreate itself. One of the questions that popped up, and I think that it's an interesting question. They're saying, what criteria did you use to determine the specific life skill areas that you chose for this assessment? Can you talk a little bit about that? The criteria did you use?
I really wanted it to reflect, when I developed it, that's a really great question. When I created it, I really wanted it to reflect what I actually am teaching my children. So it was pretty much how am I spending, my time with my children, what's important. They're the subtopics are very, I think they are very consistent between families. Most of us are concerned with how our children, what their sleep patterns are, what they're eating, are they drinking enough water, are they exercising? Diabetes type 2 is an epidemic in our country right now. So many of the small topics or the subtopics on the report card, when somebody looks at it, they will agree that, yes, these are things that I discuss with my child, and possibly not always in the most proactive manner. Oftentimes we notice something on Monday, oh, gee, you didn't have your sports things ready for the volleyball game Monday evening. And in a panic, we have this discussion, and we fail come Saturday when the schedule has quieted down to say, what can we do differently this next week so that we're more organized and we don't get into the panic mode we were in Monday night. So just that proactive, but the topics really are they're very reflective of what each of us do each day. And I do say in my book, the Life Skills Report Card is a general report card, a general outline for families. However, just as there's not one single academic report card that works for all families. Depending on which type of school you go to, you may have you're going to have a slightly modified report card. In general, though, the concept is consistent between the institutions of education. And in the same respect, somebody can personalize the life skills report card sample that I have on the website if they want to incorporate something that's important to them and their family. For example, one thing I do not have on the report card is care of pets. And if that's something that, if somebody has pets and that's a big responsibility for the children, then you would definitely want to slide that in to your report card. So there's room for tailoring it. But in general, it does cover the basic large things that we teach and we dialogue with our children about every day.
Okay. So let me go down the 5 categories once more. So personal care with a subcategory or subtopic of exercise. Personal care is the first category in the life skills report card, and the foundation from which all else flows. 6 subtopics. 1 is exercise. Lack of time is the number 1 reason why people cite for not exercising. You know, that's so important. In my book, one of the important things I talk about is